We did learn today for sure that when the FBI took the dossier to the secret court to get the warrant to spy on Carter Page, they didn't tell the court important facts like who paid for the document. They didn't tell the court about the Ohr's involvement in producing the document. And they didn't tell the court that Christopher Steele had this extreme bias against President Trump. Important facts that they should have disclosed to the court. They didn't.
Ohio Republican Congressman Jim Jordan reacting to Justice Department official Bruce Ohr's closed-door testimony on Capitol Hill yesterday. This coming as Republicans from 2 House committees learned the FBI doubted the credibility of the salacious anti-Trump dossier that figured into obtaining a FISA warrant to wiretap former Trump campaign aide Carter Page. Andy McCarthy is a former U.S. attorney and a Fox News contributor, and while we all would have loved a camera to have been live in that room so we could have seen the lawmakers' questions to Bruce Ohr, we are learning some of what was exchanged in that room. What do you make of what you know so far?
Well, I'm pleased to hear, Sandra, that he appears to have answered a lot of the questions, although they're saying that there was some problem with not being able to recall things. I was a little bit concerned that they'd try to cut off entirely important areas of inquiry. That apparently didn't happen. But, you know, there are a lot of questions about what the FBI and the Justice Department knew about the provenance of this information from Steele before they gave the application to the FISA court, whether they were straight with the FISA court when they were describing who Steele was. And importantly, and I think this is something that hasn't been covered much, what about the information that Steele was transmitting to the Justice Department and the FBI through Ohr after the first FISA application? Did they include that in the later ones and not tell the court where it was coming from?
I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more about what was exchanged in that room, Andy. Meanwhile, Darrell Issa came on earlier, and he was talking about what exactly they learned when it came to Ohr's explanation of that dossier. And he was one of the questioners in that room, and here's what he told us.
One of the things that Bruce Ohr said to us, and it took a little work to get it, was he clearly knew this was opposition research paid for by, quote, opponents to Donald Trump. You know, he said he didn't know it was the DNC at the time, nor did he need to. His wife was happily doing research and then turning it over as evidence.
What did you think of that?
You know, I think this is crucially important, and it also goes to what the FBI and the Justice Department knew at the time that they initially applied for the warrant. This information came from Fusion GPS, which is contracted ultimately by the Clinton campaign. And, you know, I think it is important to emphasize this. Fusion GPS's job was not to investigate Donald Trump or help the FBI investigate Donald Trump. Fusion GPS's job was to get Hillary Clinton elected president. And everything they did and everything they touched in terms of what their project was on Donald Trump has to be looked at through that prism. I mean, sometimes you read this stuff and you see this reporting and you would think that, you know, Fusion GPS is just like another FBI unit in the country. They were a campaign component that was trying to get a candidate elected.
Andy, do you think it's strange that Bruce Ohr has not been interviewed yet, at least by Robert Mueller?
Well, you know, whether he has or not, I don't know that we can be confident that we know the answer to that. I'll tell you this, when you're dealing with somebody who is a government official and who is still inside government, that's a lot easier investigation for a prosecutor to carry out, because you don't need subpoenas and court process in order to get your hands on the relevant documents. So it may be, if Mueller hasn't spoken to him yet, it may well be that, you know, they're trying to assemble and master all the documents before they talk to him. I'd be surprised, though, Sandra, because we know from the paper trail that Ohr was passing along to Mueller the desire of Steele to be, you know, to have a path into Mueller's investigation and to speak to those investigators. So it'd be odd if Ohr was playing that role for Steele and yet not dealing with Mueller directly himself.
Finally, I want to ask you about this one of the president's latest tweets. This came out this morning. He wrote, quote, Hillary Clinton's emails, many of which are classified information, got hacked by China. Next move better be by the FBI and DOJ. After all of their other missteps, and he lists many of them, their credibility will be forever gone. I've got to leave it there, Andy, but that was the president's final word on that, calling into question the credibility of the DOJ. That is where we are today after that line of questioning by lawmakers. Andy McCarthy, thanks for coming on the program this morning.